Kelce's relationship has already been cemented into history. In a November 18th press release, Cambridge Dictionary, the world's most popular English dictionary, awarded Parasocial with its Word of the Year, noting that part of its popularity stemmed from the famous couple's engagement. With the publication writing, global coverage of the way in which Taylor Swift announced her engagement to Travis Kelce caused lookups of Parasocial to surge as the media dissected fans' reactions. Indeed, Taylor and Travis's joint August post announcing their engagement earned almost 40 million likes and snagged a record for the fastest post to hit 1 million likes. And as for how the two feel about the noise surrounding their romance, they're just keeping their attention on each other. As Travis told GQ in August, "Whenever I'm with her, it feels like we're just regular people. When there isn't a camera on us, we're just two people that are in love."
So intense it caused a quantifiable global spike in searches for the word itself. In that data, the dictionary's editors saw the story of our modern age, a world where technology and media have blurred the lines of connection, forcing a 70-year-old psychological term into the mainstream to describe the new, often unsettling, ways we form attachments, not just to celebrities, but to AI companions and digital influencers, holding a mirror to a society passionately, and perhaps perilously, navigating relationships that can never be reciprocated. In a decision that captured the peculiar spirit of the modern era, the Cambridge Dictionary officially declared Parasocial its 2025 Word of the Year, unveiling the term and explicitly tracing its ascendancy to the global fascination with the romance between music icon Taylor Swift and NFL star Travis Kelce. The board announced that the couple's highly publicized engagement acted as a cultural catalyst, triggering a quantifiable spike in lookups for the word as millions observed and personally participated in the phenomenon of intense, one-sided relationships with the famous pair. They explained that the term, which describes a unilateral sense of connection felt toward a celebrity, fictional character, or even an AI, perfectly crystallized the public's dynamic with the couple, where fans felt an intimate, proprietary stake in their story, celebrating their victories and dissecting their moments as if they were close friends. This announcement served not merely to define a word, but to diagnose a defining social condition, framing the Swift-Kelce narrative as the prime example of how digital media and curated personalities have fundamentally reshaped, and perhaps complicated, the very nature of human connection in the 21st century. While Parasocial had long simmered within the digital vernacular of online communities, used by astute commentators to describe the intricate, one-sided bonds between fans and influencers, it was in 2025 that the term achieved undeniable cultural saturation, ultimately cementing its place as the Cambridge Dictionary's Word of the Year. This was the year it exploded beyond niche forums and academic discourse, propelled into the mainstream lexicon by the perfect storm of global phenomena. The intense, personal investment millions felt in the relationship of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce provided a textbook case study, forcing the world to confront the reality of these illusory friendships. Simultaneously, widespread discussions about the profound, and often emotional, attachments people form with AI chatbots gave the word a new, futuristic dimension. It was this convergence of celebrity culture and technological intimacy that finally crowned Parasocial, proving it was no longer just an observation but the essential vocabulary for diagnosing the complexities of modern connection. The prestigious honor of being named the Cambridge Dictionary's 2025 Word of the Year was bestowed upon Parasocial, a decision that the Cambridge University Press and Assessment revealed stems directly from the profound and often unsettling ways the public now forges one-sided attachments to modern figures. This is no longer a niche concept but a defining feature of our digital age, where the line between audience and friend has been irrevocably blurred. The phenomenon was thrown into stark relief by the global obsession with the relationship between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, where fans didn't just follow the couple's story but felt a deep, personal stake in its outcome, defending and celebrating them as they would a close companion. Yet, this trend extends far beyond the glittering world of pop stars to the intimate, daily interactions people have with AI chatbots like ChatGPT, confiding in them as digital confidants. In choosing Parasocial, the dictionary has identified the unifying thread weaving through contemporary culture, our collective, and often unconscious, journey into forming profound emotional bonds with entities that cannot possibly love us back. The Cambridge Dictionary Board pinpointed the very engine of this modern phenomenon when they stated that millions of fans related to Taylor Swift's confessional lyrics about dating, heartbreak and desire, a dynamic that forged in powerful, one-sided intimacy leading to profound parasocial bonds. This was not a distant admiration but a deeply felt, illusory friendship built over years, where listeners felt Swift was speaking directly to them, sharing her secrets and sorrows as if they were confidants in a private conversation. This carefully cultivated sense of closeness meant that when her very public romance with Travis Kelce unfolded, her audience didn't merely observe it as a news story, they experienced it as an emotional continuation of a narrative they felt they were a part of. Every date, every touchdown celebration, and ultimately the engagement, was processed not as a fan, but as a friend who had been on the entire journey, leading to an investment so intense it required a psychological term to define it, thus catapulting Parasocial from academic journals into the heart of the global conversation. The announcement crackled across the digital like lightning. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were engaged. In an instant, a wave of collective, personal euphoria swept across the globe, not as a simple celebration of celebrity news, but as a profound, validating moment for millions who felt an intimate, possessive connection to the couple. Strangers in different time zones cried tears of joy as if a beloved sister had accepted a proposal. Friends sent frantic, all-caps messages analyzing the ring, the photo, the caption, as if they had been personally present for the moment. This was the ultimate activation of the parasocial bond, a one-sided relationship years in the making, where confessional lyrics and carefully curated social media posts had constructed an illusion of friendship so potent that fans felt they knew them, that they had a stake in this happiness. They celebrated not for Taylor and Travis, but with them, their joy a powerful, yet haunting, testament to an era where the most significant relationships of our lives can be with people who do not know we exist. The concept, though perfectly describing our digital age, is not a child of the internet, but a prophecy from the dawn of television. The term parasocial dates back to 1956, when two prescient University of Chicago sociologists, Donald Horton and R. Richard Wall, first identified a curious new facet of the human psyche. Observing the early days of broadcast media, they noted that television viewers were beginning to form persistent, one-sided relationships with on-screen personalities, the friendly newscaster, the charming talk show host, who entered their living rooms with an intimate regularity that blurred the lines between stranger and companion. These simulated connections, they argued, powerfully resembled the bonds forged with real family and friends, offering the illusion of a social experience without any of its reciprocal demands. This decades-old observation has now exploded into the foundation of modern celebrity culture, providing the essential vocabulary to explain the deep, enduring connection fans feel toward figures like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. The glow of the television screen has been replaced by the glare of the smartphone, but the fundamental human impulse remains unchanged, proving that Horton and Wall were not merely describing a media trend, but documenting a permanent shift in the architecture of human connection, an uncanny prophecy that has found its deafening echo in the roar of a 2025 fandom. In a sweeping acknowledgement of the internet's relentless creativity, the Cambridge Dictionary expanded its lexicon with approximately 6,000 new words this year, formally welcoming a trio of terms that encapsulate modern digital subcultures. Leading the charge is Delulu, a playful truncation of delusional that has evolved from a fandom insult into a mainstream mantra for optimistic self-deception and the power of positive thinking, often summarized by the phrase, Delulu is the Solulu. Alongside it is the seemingly nonsensical skibbity, a word stripped of concrete meaning but saturated with cultural weight, born from a viral meme series and now serving as a versatile marker of absurdist humor and online affiliation. Completing this set is Tradwife, a portmanteau for traditional wife, which describes a modern movement of women who advocate for a return to pre-feminist gender roles, often using social media platforms to broadcast their domestic lifestyles, thus making a 21st-century performance out of a traditionally private, non-digital identity. Together, these entries testify to a language in rapid, crowdsourced evolution, where online phenomena can achieve the ultimate mark of legitimacy, a dictionary definition. Completing the portrait of our digitally dominated lexicon is the starkly evocative term slop, which the dictionary has defined as a new label for the vast and growing tide of low-quality content flooding the internet, particularly that which is mass-generated by artificial intelligence. This is not merely poor content, it is the algorithmic output of a digital factory farm, soulless articles optimized for clicks rather than clarity, AI-generated images with a telltale ghostly sheen, and video essays that paraphrase rather than think, all created at a volume that overwhelms genuine human craft. The word itself, borrowed from the imagery of cheap, unappetizing food served to livestock, perfectly captures the feeling of being force-fed an endless, nutritionally barren stream of media, where the core experience of the internet shifts from discovery to wading through the digital detritus. Its official recognition signals a critical cultural moment. As AI tools proliferate, we are collectively developing a vocabulary not just for the technology itself, but for its often disappointing, homogenized, and hollow byproducts, naming the profound sense of qualitative decay that occurs when the relentless demand for content outstrips the human capacity to create it meaningfully. In the vast, churning engine of internet culture, our language evolves at a breakneck pace, with new terms like memeify capturing the fundamental act of digital transformation, the process by which any event, image, or person is stripped of its original context and repackaged as a viral unit of culture, a joke to be spread and mutated across platforms. This relentless drive to memeify the world exists in a symbiotic relationship with the phenomenon that has been crowned the defining concept of our time, the parasocial relationship. Together, they form the core of the modern social media age. We memeify celebrities and influencers, reducing their complex lives into shareable templates and inside jokes, and in doing so, we paradoxically feel we are peeling back a layer, fostering a one-sided intimacy that makes them feel like friends, confidants, or digital companions. This dynamic extends beyond traditional fame to the algorithms and AI chatbots with which we also form these profound, yet entirely illusory, bonds. Thus, the Cambridge Dictionary's selection of parasocial as its word of the year is more than a lexical choice, it is a profound reference to the new architecture of human connection, where our ability to memeify everything runs in parallel with our tendency to form deep, non-reciprocal relationships with the very phantoms we create. Psychologists have meticulously documented how the meteoric rise of these one-sided parasocial relationships has fundamentally redefined the very nature of fandom and celebrity, transforming passive admiration into an intense, often possessive, sense of intimacy. This seismic shift in human interaction is precisely why Colin McIntosh of the Cambridge Dictionary declared that parasocial captures the 2025 zeitgeist, highlighting the term as a powerful example of how language must evolve to diagnose new social realities. The word's journey from a niche academic concept to the word of the year mirrors our own journey into a digitally mediated world, where the lines between fan and friend, audience and confidant, have been irrevocably blurred. It is a testament to an era where caring about the details of a celebrity's engagement or feeling understood by an AI chatbot is not an outlier behavior, but a mainstream experience, forcing a 70-year-old term into the spotlight to finally give a name to the invisible, one-sided bonds that now form the bedrock of modern connection. What was once a sterile, specialist term confined to academic journals has violently erupted into the mainstream lexicon, a transition proving that our language is struggling to keep pace with the rapid evolution of human connection itself. Millions now actively navigate these parasocial relationships, while millions more observe their rise with a mixture of intrigue and alarm, a collective fascination that is starkly quantified in the sharp, telling spikes on the Cambridge Dictionary's lookup data for the word. This linguistic evolution is not happening in a vacuum, it is a direct, frantic response to a world where technology, society, and culture are mutating at blinding speed, forcing a once obscure word into daily conversation to describe everything from a fan's devotion to a pop star to a user's midnight confession to an AI chatbot. The very language we use to dissect these one-sided bonds is evolving as fast as the phenomena themselves, making parasocial more than just a word. It is a critical lens through which we are all just beginning to understand the profound, and perhaps permanent, reshaping of intimacy in the digital age. The term parasocial, though it feels uniquely tailored to our digital era, is in fact a profound echo from the past, its roots dating back to 1956 when two visionary University of Chicago sociologists first diagnosed a new form of intimacy brewing in the American living room. They observed that the rapidly expanding medium of television was performing a subtle but revolutionary magic, bringing the faces of actors, newscasters, and talk show hosts directly into viewers' homes with a regularity that transformed these distant personalities into trusted, familiar fixtures in people's daily lives. These one-sided relationships, they noted, eerily resembled the bonds formed with real family and friends, yet demanded nothing in return, creating a novel social experience built entirely on illusion. It is the breathtaking prescience of this observation that leads Simone Schnall, a professor of experimental social psychology at the University of Cambridge, to declare the word an inspired choice for our time, for the core dynamic identified in the age of broadcast television has not vanished but has been explosively amplified in the age of the algorithm, where social media influencers and AI chatbots have become our new on-screen companions, making this 60-year-old term the essential key to understanding the architecture of modern connection and the haunting nature of one-sided relationships in a digitally mediated world. Professor Schnall's analysis cuts to the very heart of a profound societal shift, stating that the rise of parasocial relationships has fundamentally redefined the ancient concepts of fandom and celebrity, while simultaneously rewriting the rules for how ordinary people interact online, a transformation made even more complex by the advent of persuasive artificial intelligence. We have indeed entered a new age, she warns, where a significant number of people are forming deeply unhealthy and intensely one-sided parasocial relationships with online influencers, a dynamic that transcends mere admiration and breeds a powerful, and often dangerous, illusion of intimacy. This manufactured connection leads to an unshakable sense that they authentically know the person on the other side of the screen, which in turn fosters an unconditional trust in their words and culminates in extreme forms of loyalty that can manifest as fervent digital defense brigades, a blindness to any criticism of the influencer, and a personal identity so intertwined with a stranger's brand that any perceived betrayal feels like a profound personal wound. Yet this profound sense of connection is a meticulously crafted illusion, a performance of intimacy that remains completely one-sided. This phenomenon erupts from the fertile ground of a collapsing trust in mainstream and traditional media. As institutions falter, people instinctively turn to individual online personalities who project authenticity and certainty, anointing them as their new, relatable authorities. The process is a slow, psychological seduction. When a person spends countless hours immersed in the vlogs, stories, and podcasts of a single creator, their brain begins to blur the line between audience member and confidant, steadily weaving the threads of a parasocial bond. This bond compels followers to treat these influencers not as distant entertainers, but as close friends, surrogate family, or even charismatic cult leaders whose opinions are beyond reproach. The sheer scale of an influencer's following, the millions of faces in the digital crowd, becomes a false badge of credibility, creating a powerful, self-justifying logic. With so many people listening, the follower assumes they must be trustworthy. In this new hierarchy of belief, the consensus of a crowd has replaced the rigor of a fact-checker, and a friendly face has become more convincing than a credentialed expert. She continued to elaborate on this nuanced spectrum, noting that alongside the more concerning digital attachments, there exists a more traditional and fundamentally healthier manifestation of fandom. This is where people develop parasocial ties with transcendent stars like Taylor Swift, a connection rooted in a genuine, warranted admiration for an artist who is exceptionally gifted at her craft. This form of fandom can be a powerful source of community, joy, and shared identity, as fans collectively appreciate her musical genius and storytelling prowess. However, she cautioned, even this more benign admiration exists on a slippery slope. The very depth of Swift's lyrical detail and her masterful use of autobiographical Easter eggs can also act as a catalyst, leading to obsessive interpretations of every syllable and intensely speculative online discussions that dissect their hidden meanings. This fervent decoding often spirals beyond analyzing the art and into the realm of presuming to understand the artist's private life and intentions, creating a narrative burden for Swift herself and blurring the line between dedicated appreciation and an entitled sense of ownership over a person they do not actually know. The parasocial trend takes on a profoundly new and unsettling dimension as countless individuals now interact with AI tools like ChatGPT not as mere search engines, but as synthetic friends or unofficial therapists, confessing their insecurities and seeking comfort in its constantly available, judgment-free responses. This dynamic creates a powerful illusion of a reciprocal relationship and a form of digital groupthink, where the user, isolated in their screen, feels part of a shared, understanding community curated by an algorithm. However, this friendship is a carefully constructed mirage. The AI has no consciousness, no empathy, and no lived experience, it generates responses based on patterns and data, offering positive affirmations that are statistically likely, not emotionally earned. Experts urgently warn that this is where the danger intensifies, as we know young people, in particular, are highly susceptible to this convincing performance of care. They may substitute genuine human connection and professional therapeutic guidance with these interactions, potentially stunting their emotional development and embedding a reliance on a system that can offer the form of support without any of its substance, mistaking a vast database for a compassionate heart. The Cambridge Dictionary selection of Parasocial as its 2025 Word of the Year is the latest chapter in a deliberate effort to chronicle the evolving psyche of the digital age, a mission clearly foreshadowed by its previous choices. The trend began with manifest, a term that captured the mainstream embrace of self-help and spiritual visualization, urging individuals to will their desires into reality. This was followed by the pop culture savvy of brat, a word revitalized from its derogatory roots by Charli XCX's viral album to define a new aesthetic of rebellious confidence. Then came the crucial, cautionary selection of hallucinate, which, moving beyond its human-centric definition, was applied to AI to describe the unsettling moment when a chatbot confidently peddles fiction as fact. Together, these words trace a clear arc, from the internal world of self-actualization, manifest, to the external identifiers of tribal belonging, brat, to the technological reckoning with unreliable systems, hallucinate. Now, Parasocial emerges as the powerful synthesis of these forces, describing the deeply personal, often tribal, and technologically mediated one-sided relationships that have become a defining feature of how we live, connect, and trust in the 21st century.